In a world overrun with an infinite amount of multiverses, originating from a plethora of sources, four longtime friends band together to try to make sense of it all and present it to an audience in an easy-to-digest podcast. This is Geeking Off The Page.
Greetings, geeks! Welcome back to Geeking Off The Page. After a lengthy hiatus, we're coming back as we can. Tonight it'll just be myself and Mike. The other two are out gallivanting around, but we're still going to vent our opinions. So sit back, relax, enjoy. And if you don't enjoy, then why are you listening? On to you, Mike.
Hello, geeks. So myself and Trevor, as we normally do, the dynamic duo, we'll have a little discussion about the pop culture news that's been happening in, the universe over the past, 4-5 months, however long it's been since we've done a podcast. So what do you want to start with, Trev?
Let's start with what's coming up. So we have Obi-Wan is starting next week. And we also got a teaser for the upcoming She-Hulk, which is going to be starting in August. So I'm going to let you pick which one you want to start with, Mike.
Okay, well, since you said Obi-Wan, let's start with that. Now, for myself, this is one I've been looking forward to for, decades, because I didn't really like the prequels. Although this latest trailer has me a little bit skeptical. I don't like all the dollar store Darth Vaders that are being introduced. I don't like the way that the Imperials are being portrayed. Just a quick way to kind of describe it is, if you were to take the idea of a privileged white male, that would be the Empire, right? Give them a British accent and that's who you're dealing with. And the fact that they're trying to add diversity into the Empire has me a little bit skeptical, because that's kind of not really the Empire's game. Grand Admiral Thrawn aside, but of course that was afterwards. He was out on the Outer Rim. It's not until everything was destroyed that he kind of came into power. So there's a lot of things in there I'm very skeptical of. Now, the one shot of little Luke Skywalker sitting on his little clay hut, pretending to fly the ship, if that's all we get out of the series, I'm happy. Seeing that shot made me smile. So very skeptical. I'm hoping they can pull this off, but I don't really know what to make of it. What I've seen in the trailers, definitely has me skeptical. I don't know. What are you thinking, Trevor?
When they first announced this area, I was like, finally, because I've always had the question of, after Obi-Wan fled to Tatooine of all places, why didn't Vader find him?
Right.
And I'm hoping this is going to explain the myriad chase that Obi-Wan gives the Empire to either A, make them think that they've killed him, or B, that he's eluded them and they just don't, they're like, all right, he's gone. We're not going to go looking for him anymore. It's too much of a hassle. So I'm kind of hoping it's a bit of A, I'm hoping it's a bit of B, but I want to see why they kind of, like, after he fled with young Luke, why they didn't pursue him.
Right.
And then I know they have the Inquisitors that are coming right out of Star Wars Rebels, which is a kind of a nice way of linking those together. But I want to, was it 6 episodes, 8 episodes? 6, I think. I want to see that question I've always had of, why didn't they catch him? Yoda said he fled to Dagobah because there was enough dark side energy there to mask him. So, and I kind of want to see, Obi-Wan talking to Qui-Gon,
Oh yeah,
completing his final steps to the master that we see in Sir Alec Guinness in Star Wars. I want to see that transition.
Has there been any word of him being in the series or no?
I don't think so, but they've been very tight-lipped with the cast. Like, they've only released a couple. Hayden Christensen's coming back as Anakin Skywalker / Darth Vader. Joel Edgerton's coming back as Owen Lars. And they've announced a couple of names of the different Inquisitors and stuff, but they've been very tight-lipped about one-off guest stars for different episodes. As usual, they're playing it really close to the vest, which I kind of like.
Right.
I don't want it spoiled too much until I watch the episode. I have high hopes for it, but I'm trying not to raise them too high so I don't get my hopes dashed. I'm
doing the opposite. I am like crushing my hopes so that I can have a new hope. Yay.
Yeah. So yeah, I was excited when they finally announced, like when they finally said, all right, we're doing Obi-Wan, and we've got
because it's been years of rumors.
Oh yeah, and Ian McGregor's been on talk shows countlessly, like, no, I wish they would. And then when they finally announced, he's like, finally, I can stop lying. So yeah, I'm looking for, and it's next week. We just have to wait till next week. So I've been trying to stay away from all the trailers because I don't want to see something that's going to spoil something. So ever since that first teaser trailer of like about a month ago, I have stopped watching. Anytime that pops up in my feed, ooh, new Obi-Wan trailer, I'm like, nope. I want to see this one with fresh eyes.
Yeah. So after that first trailer, I kind of got the vibe for it. What do you think of that female Inquisitor? I don't know what her name is, but
like the sister, I think it's third sister or second sister or something like that.
And whatever she is, she seems to be like the main antagonist.
Yeah, third sister, I think it is. Because as I said, they pulled a lot of it from Star Wars Rebels, where they went pretty deep into whole Inquisitors. Like these were basically Vader's hands going out and scouring and looking for the Jedi. And when they find one that was too strong for them, Vader would step in and do the deed, sort of thing. But they were there to kill.
So was her character canon from something else, or is that new for the show?
I think it's new, but there was other Inquisitors in Rebels. There was a Grand Inquisitor.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the bald dude, he was one that's in previous things.
But
at first I thought he was actually Darth Vader. The first time I watched the trailer, it's like, oh my god, the Darth Vader has his helmet off. Are they going to do another Boba Fett where like Darth Vader takes his helmet off? He's just spinning the whole. It's like, no. But it wasn't him, so that made me happy.
Yeah. I remember the Inquisitors from Rebels, and their job was they would track down rumors, and if it was like a Padawan or a nascent Force sensitive, they would just kill him out of hand. But if it was a full Jedi, in would come Vader to cut that person down and then carry. And their whole goal was to basically wipe out the Jedi. That's what they were made for, knowing that when their task was done, they were going to be put to the lightsaber themselves. Like Vader was not going to let them survive. So they kind of knew that they were rewarded for their hunting, but at the same time, when the last hunt's done, their reward was to take a lightsaber to the head. So yeah. So kind of like, do you really hunt this guy down as hard as you can? do you let him slip through your grasp a couple of times? So it'll be interesting to see how they handle it live action. You can see Filoni.
I hope it's good.
I really do. Because after this, I think is the Miss Marvel, which comes in June, and then the She-Hulk Attorney at Law, which comes out in August. I'm just going to segue into that one quickly. So I know a lot of people were complaining at the trailer that the CGI She-Hulk looks terrible. And I'm just going to say
from Shrek. That's what I was thinking.
Now I'm going to say this now. So the Hulk, when you see Hulk in the trailer, it looks great because this is the end game Hulk model where they've done all this, all the muscle and bone and fat simulation. So it's feature quality effects. They've got to build She-Hulk from the ground up. So what we saw was probably second iteration of a She-Hulk model, not fully realized, not properly textured, not fully shaded, not fully rigged to ready to go. By the time the first episode comes out in August, we're probably going to get the fully realized She-Hulk. It's going.
Do you think it's going to be step up? Because I mean, I've worked on films before where they release trailers and it's not quite done yet, and so that's something that happens. But
I think
the Marvel TV stuff is always like they don't quite do feature quality. Like even Moon Knight, No, you could tell that animation wasn't up to feature standards. So
Yeah, but I think in this, it wasn't just the animation that was off, it was the model was off. And I think it's just a case of they were told, we've got to put a trailer out. We've got to get buzz going now. So the amount of She-Hulk shots they used was very limited. And it's probably because that's all they had that was even prevised enough, like enough out of previs that they could, edit it together to something to see. Like some of the stuff they had before, like the shot where, she jumps and we're seeing her from behind and it's slowly panning up.
Yep.
That was different than what we saw a year ago when they first announced it. So I think what we saw a year ago was the first generation model.
I actually didn't look at comparisons. Do you look at back-to-back comparisons?
Some people put side-by-side comparisons. There is a difference. There's a much different, like the muscle tone in her calves, even the skin texture is different. So I think they're working on iterations, and working in CG as because you're using reference models in your scene. As that reference model is updated, it updates in your scene. So I think it's going to be a case of, you're probably going to be burning the candle at both ends, rendering out some of the stuff to make the August 17th release date. But they're probably going to be working on it right up until the 16th to get that first episode out.
Now, here's a question for you, because we've both worked in animation. Do you think it's necessary for She-Hulk to be CG?
I want to say no, but if they want to impart the level of strength that She-Hulk has as a character and the size difference, they would need to, because they just can't. Finding an actress that's going to look similar enough to the lead actress, but who's also taller and much more physically fit is going to be tough. So I think it's just like, should they've just painted Mark Ruffalo green and thrown him in there?
Well, the Hulk's different, in my opinion, because Hulk, obviously he's just a giant beast of a monster, but She-Hulk, and so here's my opinion on the whole thing. So She-Hulk has pretty much regular human proportions, right? Like Hulk is a complete beast monster, completely roided out. Scaled up, right? But you could do the Peter Jackson trick, like Lord of the Rings, where you could do camera tricks. So you could take a live action human and do those kind of camera tricks to fake scale them up.
I think the problem with that is the actress. Finding an actress that physically embodies what She-Hulk would look like, you're probably very extremely narrowing your acting pool. And if you had to choose between someone who's looks the part or someone who can act the part, I think it's wiser to get someone who can act the part and then either use a body double. They could have tried to do body doubles and stuff like that, but after one or two episodes, it would get really obvious when you just see her arm or you just see her leg, but you never see her whole body from the front because you always see her from the back because it's a different actor.
So here's my second idea. So if I was going to be directing this, I would try the Peter Jackson scale up an actress, paint them green like Gamora, but make them big. If for some reason that didn't work, you could do almost like the Game of Thrones kind of thing where you just put the face on. He could have a CG body, but
I was
keep
thinking
the actress's face.
like in Free Guy, the dude character with Ryan Reynolds' face.
Exactly. Like that worked really well. That was successful. And I believed it. But you don't get that weird uncanny valley with the face where it looks like CG animation. Every time I see She-Hulk, I just think of Fiona from Shrek. Like I'm not, I'm not convinced.
I have my fingers crossed that, by August, they'll have it all figured out. Because I know they've got Tim Roth. You're going to see him as both, Blonsky and the Abomination, which is going to be, seeing that switch back and forth is going to be nice. So
that's my favorite part of the trailer, actually, is that Abomination.
Yeah, seeing him sitting there as Blonsky and then him all Abomination out. So yeah, I'm hoping, and they got what's his face, Wong is in this. So
okay,
yeah, he's already been listed.
Which should tie into Shang-Chi.
Yeah, Shang-Chi and maybe a little bit of Doctor Strange. So, which is, I'm going to get to it when we get to Doctor Strange, but I have a bone to pick with that.
I have a bone to pick there too. One big problem I had with the trailer as well is I don't think it kept the spirit of what the comic should be as far as the humor and all that. Like the writing seemed very, just like modern feminist type writing rather than the old school clever, John Byrne writing,
Yeah.
like from that era.
I
I always think, did you ever watch Boston Legal?
Yes.
Okay, if you had Boston Legal with She-Hulk in it and cameos from Matt Murdock and all that kind of stuff, I think that would be a real hit show.
I think I mean, I don't know who's writing this one. They don't say who's writing.
I'd watched something. There's some woman that was writing it, and I wasn't impressed with her.
Here we go. Dana Schwartz, Melissa Hunter, Cody Ziegler, Kara Brown, and Zeb Wells serve as writers on the series. Yeah. They're calling it a half-hour legal comedy, faithful to John Byrne's take on She-Hulk and Marvel Comics. I don't know if that's true.
The trailer doesn't look like that. I mean, I hope the final is like that, but
maybe just didn't. Maybe with the available footage they have, they couldn't cut it to something that would convey that. Because I'm hoping this is more like a legal drama, like a legal drama / comedy first, She-Hulk second.
Yeah.
It's kind of like watching Ally McBeal, except for she can turn 7 foot and green and punch people through walls.
Right. That's the show I want, and it would be a fun change from, in the same way, because again, WandaVision's been my favorite of the Disney Plus Marvel shows, and that was pretty hardcore. Like you could tell that was, what do you say, like a television drama, right? Like through the ages, with this whole like Scarlet Witch manufacturing reality. I thought that was done really well. So if they did the same kind of thing with this, where they go full on comedy, legal drama, like Modern Family, Ally McBeal, Boston Legal, that really hardcore TV comedy.
It's a legal drama first.
Yes.
And then superhero second.
Yeah. That would be really strong. So
I'm if it's anything like that, I'm going to be so happy.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right. So from She-Hulk, do we do Moon Knight or do we do Doctor Strange?
Let's do Moon Knight. Moon Knight came out first.
All right. So Moon Knight, for those who haven't watched it, shame on you. Is that how I'm going to start? Yeah. I think that's going to work. Shame on you. I mean, it's already finished its episode run. You should have seen it by now. If we spoil anything for you, why are you still listening? Pause here, go watch the show, come back. Simple enough request.
If we're spoiling it for you, you didn't care to begin with. So
so this one is the lead character, Oscar Isaac, nailed this character. He really got to show off his acting chops. So he plays the Moon Knight, but in the non-Moon Knight character, he is several characters. He is Mark Spector, he is Stephen Grant, and Jacob Lockley. Each has their own personality, their own quirks. Like, so Mark Spector is an American, Jewish American, very brash. Stephen Grant is a very introverted British gentleman who works in a museum gift shop. Whereas
I wish he was still a billionaire.
I kind of do too, but I think having him,
I'd be happy if he was a British millionaire. I think that would be awesome still, because I did like the accent change and all that kind of stuff. But I do wish he was a billionaire and not just a nerd in a gift shop. But okay, keep going.
So anyway, so the character Moon Knight, the Mark Spector, Stephen Grant, Jake Lockley, he's a guy with the dissociative identity disorder, DID. And what it is when he has a moment of stress, he will black out and the other personality will take over. Mark Spector is aware of Stephen Grant. Stephen Grant is not aware of Mark Spector, nor of the Moon Knight persona, and neither of them are aware of Jacob Lockley, which makes for a very interesting dynamic. And so Mark Spector, at one point, which we don't get to see, kind of we do in a flashback, but he is at the point of death when he is contacted by the Egyptian moon god Khonshu, who offers him the chance to become his avatar on Earth. He'll be gifted with power to do Khonshu's mission of justice, seek out the wrongdoers and mediate justice. And he is very brutal in meting out that justice. And yeah, Stephen Grant is just this little happy-go-lucky British guy, works in the museum and has no knowledge of all this going, just knows that he has a sleeping disorder. And so he has to like tie his leg to a bedpost or to a pillar in his room. He's got a sand circle he puts around his bed. He's got tape on his door. He's got all these little tricks to prevent himself from what he believes is sleepwalking.
And I thought that was fun. When that showed up, I was like, okay, this is kind of neat, especially the sand, because it immediately it ties you to the Egyptian, desert and all that kind of stuff. So,
and there's a great moment where he has this goldfish who has one fin, kind of like Nemo, one little fin, one big fin. And after a strange day, he comes home and he looks at his fish and he realizes the fish has two normal fins. And that's where things kind of like take a sharp turn and things start to unravel for Mr. Grant. And I like that fact in these shows, that it was, you didn't know who was who in terms of who was real and who was fake, or was it two completely separate entities just inhabiting the same body? Yeah, I had a great time. And as I said, Oscar Isaac acted his ass off in this role. Like, just, you firmly, and he would even change the way the person would stand depending on which personality was supposed to be in charge. He would hold himself differently.
For that, the way the acting was done on that, like, I have a lot of problems with stuff that was happening in the show, but when he was in character as Mark Spector, and then talking, and then he'd switch to Stephen Grant and start talking, like, even though it was the same shot,
he would just suddenly
two different characters
differently.
Yeah, like the whole body would change and everything would change. It's like, okay, he is acting his ass off on this. It's amazing.
I mean, I would be watching and a scene would go through and I would pause it, rewind it, and watch it again, because I'm just like, I'm in awe of the level of detail in the acting. Like, just, when he would like shift personalities, and you would see, like, when he's Steven, the shoulders would kind of hunch in and he'd drop his head a little bit and he'd be a little bit more defensive and his hands would kind of like pull in, like he's, and then when he's Mark, he's more open, he's extroverted, he's cocky and sure of what he can do and what he is.
And when that's happening in the same shot, it's just mind-blowing.
Like, I was just like, wow. I mean, this guy needs an Emmy, because it is some incredible acting, not only to, when you say, oh, I'm talking as this guy, now I'm talking as this guy, and not just change the voice or put on an accent or take an accent away, but to do a complete physical transformation that you could turn the sound off and you could be like, all right, he's Mark right now. Now he's Steven. This is Steven. That's Mark. Just from the body language. Like, that is just some incredible attention to detail from the actor and the director, giving him the notes of like, all right, here you're Steven, here you're Mark. Approach the scene this way as Mark, approach the scene this way as Steven. So
so I'm with you. I was completely impressed with the acting on all that stuff.
But then on to some of the other stuff. As mentioned before, some of the CG does not hold up that well. Some of it you could tell was rushed. I did not like the jackal dogs. I just felt they looked like they were pulled out of some grade B schlock movie, and then they slapped an Egyptian headdress on it. It was like, what? Yeah.
And some of the CG stuff, like, I don't know, maybe I'm just old school enough to remember when we didn't have any of this kind of stuff on television. So it's like, even the family saying, that animation's not so good. I was like, well, but it's a TV show, I can give it a little bit of a pass.
They got stricter timelines, and they don't have time to do multiple passes on a scene. It's motion capture, clean it up, send it to render. We got to go to the next shot.
But for me, a big thing was the story. There was some story stuff in there. Like, if the story was strong, I can let some visual effects stuff go. But because, So my biggest problem is that we'll just get to it straight
Right.
away. Is it didn't feel like Moon Knight was the hero of his own story, and both Marvel stuff and Star Wars stuff is going through this weird thing where it's like this weird bait and switch that they keep doing, where it's like, hey, you're gonna get Hawkeye. No, it's actually Kate Bishop. Hey, you're gonna get whatever, Obi-Wan. No, it's gonna be the Inquisitor or whatever. Like it seems like they keep doing this weird bait and switch. Even Doctor Strange, but we'll get to that later, where even Doctor Strange seemed like he was a passenger in his own movie.
Mm-hmm.
So Moon Knight kind of felt like that to me, where like I wanted to see him as a hero. Meanwhile, he's in his own psychological drama, and what's his name, his wife, girlfriend, or whatever it is, became more of a superhero than he did. And it's just like, oh, don't keep doing this. Like, if you're going to name the show Moon Knight, like, give me a real hero moment for Moon Knight.
Yeah, for me, it just felt like the introduction of Layla gave them it's almost like they're acknowledging Mark Spector, while very action oriented, is not a smart man.
Yeah.
And whereas Stephen Grant, while being smart, is not very action oriented, but instead of saying, all right, they will work using their strengths to cover the other one's weakness, they're like, well, let's introduce Layla, and she'll just drag him around from place to place, and kind of like, here's the clue, Scooby. Here it is, here, Shaggy. And that's what it felt like. It felt like he was just being dragged from point A to point B. Do your thing, get whatever MacGuffin you need so that we can advance the story. And she's going to take you to that next story point. And for me, that was like, if he's the hero, he should be Batmaning this shit up. He should be figuring this stuff out on his own. There should be a moment where, Mark Spector as the Moon Knight runs up to something and he says, I don't understand what I'm looking at. Steven, take over. Steven takes over and goes, oh, this is that. That's that. This is where we need to go. And then get to go, this is, a bunch of guys show up. This might be more than I can handle. And Mark's like, I'll take it from here, and then keep going.
Yeah.
But it wasn't that. It would be like Layla would come up like, oh, this is this, that. We got to go here. Come with me, Mark. Oh, Steven's here. Oh, hi, Mark. And fight. And it was
and at the beginning of the series, the confusion worked well, because this guy's completely schizo and he's kind of like, oh, multiple personalities. I don't know what the hell is going on. That worked. But at some point in the story, since the story's Moon Knight, he should take control. He should take over. And he should be the hero. One line that got me is when Layla, she's got her wings, and the little girl's like, are you an Egyptian superhero? It's like, is Moon Knight's the superhero in this show?
yeah.
If anything, you're Robin to Batman. Like,
yeah. Although I think in the book she's Scarab, but I can't remember her name. But she's granted some power, and she goes along on some of the adventures with them. And she's kind of like the Robin to his Batman.
Right. But for that to work, he's got to be Batman. They got to let him be Batman. Yeah. Which, I mean, everybody knows Moon Knight is Marvel's Batman.
Yes. Well, I mean,
and that's one thing that I kind of miss. Like, I wasn't a huge Moon Knight reader back in the day, but I knew enough about the character, where he's got his moon jet, and was it Frenchie's flying the moon jet, and he's jumping down and beating up guys and stuff. Like, I wish there was a little bit of that. I did like the Egyptian supernatural. One of my favorite scenes in the thing is where they're turning back time. Didn't make any sense. Why do you have to turn back the sky? Like, just, bring it up on your iPad and you can, do it there. You don't have to manipulate the universe. But the visual effect of it was cool.
Yeah, but he doesn't know how an iPad works, so he would just be, well, just turn back time. I mean,
okay, fair enough.
Okay.
We'll give him a pass for that then. Anyways, it was an awesome shot. I just loved the way it looked with the two of them up there, changing the stars.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I don't know. There's so many opportunities that you could have brought it back to the comics, again, with the billionaire persona, and like the jets, and just Moon Knight literally just going in there and beating up guys properly. I think they missed out on a lot of opportunities. I thought the show was okay, but I think they dropped the ball in too many ways to make it
Yeah,
really successful.
this was definitely not my favorite series from Disney Plus. I liked it a lot. I like the fact that they took the notion of multiple personalities head on. They didn't try to like, dust it under the rug. Oh, it's Mark Spector all the time. Or they embraced it head on, and they got a great actor to do it.
That's something in the comic books that was a later thing, because it used to be like Bruce Wayne matches Malone, kind of, going into the underworld, get some information, and so he was in control of the personalities. But I guess it was later on in the comic books. I forget what writer was the one that introduced it. But
yeah, I'm not sure, but I know at some point he lost control, and it was some of the personalities were not aware of each other.
Yeah, which is fun. Like, I like that as a concept. It's really interesting.
And again, I think Oscar Isaac pulled that off like really well. Like when he wakes up in the German town and he's like, "Oh boy, where am I?"
See, at the beginning of the series, that was fun, but I can't believe they didn't introduce Jake Lockley until an end credit.
Yeah,
and they didn't show that final fight. Like, you have to show the final fight. If you're going to introduce Jake Lockley, that's the time to do it. Don't blank out and not.
Yeah, I mean, like the whole time, I'm
satisfaction
when they were going back and forth, and now they're working hand in hand, and then it looks like it's all right. It's it end for both of them, and they're like, "Oh, what happened?" And he's dead. You're like, "What? Who?" And that's what I wanted to hear, like a third voice of like Jake Lockley. Like, "Don't worry, boys, I took care of it for you."
Right, like that.
And then
end
just that realization of like, there's a third one in here.
Yeah, because they introduce it. Like, I saw it coming the whole show. They keep giving hints.
Yeah,
but then you pay it off in an end credit. Like, you can't do that.
No.
Like, you robbed us of the last fight. Like, introduce him properly there.
Yeah.
And not end credit.
Yeah, because I don't even think they're planning on a sequel, like a second season of this.
Oh no,
I think this was it.
So, I thought there were some rumors that he's going to tie into some future. Maybe it's oh geez, I don't know. I don't have information in front of me, but I thought
he's going to cross over into other
future projects.
He's crossing over into other MCU films.
Okay,
but I don't think that they are returning to like as its own series. I think that was just this was a one and done to introduce the character to people, so that when he shows up in movies, you're gonna be like, "Oh, there's Moon Knight."
Oh, you got to give us the Moon Jet then.
Yeah, something.
I want to see the Moon Jet.
So, yeah.
Oh well.
I'm just seeing here. At the time of the premiere, Isaac has not signed on to return as the character in any future projects. The writers are unsure of the character's future, be it a second season feature film or any other part of the character's property. Isaac is open returning if the story that makes sense, and Hawk and Callum Wave also that they would return as well. So, but yeah, they kind of left it like, ooh, now here's Jake Lockley and credits.
Right.
What? So yeah. So that took care of Moon Knight. And then
Doctor Strange
2 and the Multiverse of Madness. Now, I'm going to give this one to you, Mike. You start off. Like it or didn't like it?
Okay. It's a complicated answer. So I went into this movie I started off with very high expectations. And then as different Marvel stuff happened, I went to very low expectations. And this is also the first time I've been able to go to a movie theater in like a year and a half. And it's the first time that I was able to go to a movie theater with a friend. We actually went to this together. Of course, there was only 5 other people in the theater, but still, it was a theater experience movie. So the experience of watching the movie was great. I was excited to see it. It exceeded my expectations, which were very low. And I just had a good time watching it. Now, if we're going to start getting critical about it, I've got a lot of bones to pick with some of the choices that they made with the movie. Some of the big ones was the fact that Doctor Strange seemed to be a passenger in his own movie. And I never liked that. I don't like the fact he wasn't Sorcerer Supreme still. I mean, they set that up in Spider-Man. But if you're just looking at the actual Doctor Strange movies, you have one movie where he becomes Sorcerer Supreme. Second movie, oh, I'm not anymore. It's Wong. Remember that librarian who was listening to Beyonce? Yeah, that guy. He's Sorcerer Supreme now. So stuff like that. It was another case of the female character that can save everything, which could be fine, but because Doctor Strange was such a passenger in his own movie, it was just kind of, like what story? Like it should be an America Chavez movie, not Doctor Strange movie, really. And the Scarlet Witch. If you watched WandaVision and saw the way that story ended, you kind of understand where things are going. But if you were just to watch the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, you have a character that went from villain to hero, sacrificed everything to save the universe. Now she's willing to destroy the multiverse for an imaginary idea. Like, I have some questions there. So you can do stuff like that in movies in the same way Iron Man and Captain America clashed during Civil War. But the thing is, they explained why in the movie. So you can watch the Avengers movies, and you can get to Civil War, and go, oh, I understand why there's a conflict. But the Scarlet Witch thing kind of came out of nowhere. And I like the idea. She played the villain great. But as far as writing for a movie, no, you could have done better. Then we have these cameos, but we'll get to that later. I don't know. What did you think, Trevor?
I'm actually right with you, like 99% of the way. So I went in with a little bit higher expectations, but Doctor Strange is not a leading character.
Yeah.
He was really good in Infinity War and Endgame because he was part of an ensemble. He doesn't work as the solitary hero of a story. He's just not interesting. He's got all this power, and it's just like it's like the whole Superman complex of, if you have a character with this much power, then you need a villain of equal power or even greater power to challenge them so that the hero feels threatened. But when you get to that level, after you can't fathom. It's like an ant trying to contemplate the cosmos sort of thing. Like, how much power is enough power to wear down Doctor Strange sort of? Why can't he just like pull a magical artifact out of his ass and level the playing field sort of thing? So that was my first problem, was he's not interesting enough to hold his own movie. He was great for his origin movie, but even then it was kind of boring.
You know what? We watched Ragnarok recently. The way he was in that movie,
yeah,
where he was legit Sorcerer Supreme, and he's like talking to Thor, and he's like warping backgrounds, and he's filling up beer mugs and trapping Loki in an infinite loop, and like that was the Sorcerer Supreme.
That's the Sorcerer Supreme. So when this was started, he's no longer Sorcerer Supreme, but he never called out Wong. Like, it's not like, so Wong, I was watching YouTube, and do you want to explain the abomination? Like, where was that? Like, that should have been somewhere. Just something that affected. Wong could have just responded with, the affairs of the Sorcerer Supreme are only for the Sorcerer Supreme's eyes, sort of thing. So it's just like, none of your business. I'm Sorcerer Supreme. Fuck you.
Yeah, but then it's like, Wong, you were a librarian. If you could have been Sorcerer Supreme, you should have been in the first movie.
Yeah.
Back when I was training and all that kind of stuff.
I was thinking the person who should have been Sorcerer Supreme, Baron Mordo. So that Doctor Strange and Wong are kind of like, they're operating on the down low because they don't want to get onto Mordo's radar. Mordo's dealing with being the Sorcerer Supreme of Earth, so he doesn't have time to get his revenge against Strange right now because he's dealing with bigger things. But at the same time, Strange and Wong are like, we're operating under his radar, so that because if he does turn his attention to us, now we have to face the Sorcerer Supreme of Earth.
And if he's Sorcerer Supreme, like it already showed he's going out and taking out all these other magical people.
Yeah, so he's,
I mean, that's almost a Hail Hydra moment. Like,
yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, so I think that was a missed opportunity of having Mordo currently being the Sorcerer Supreme of Earth. And you can even have Chad as she shows up. She's like, he's not supposed to be Sorcerer Supreme. In all the places I visited, you were, something to that effect.
Yeah, and that makes a strong villain for a third movie.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. I
like that.
And then what you were saying with
Kevin Feige, you should listen to Trevor.
And then what you were saying with Scarlet Witch being, so she was a villain, now she was a hero, and unless you watched WandaVision, there's no reason for her to be the villain again.
Right.
So I think there needed to be something to the effect of when Chavez shows up and she's like, oh, I've been to all these different multiverses, seen all different things. I've seen, and she could even a throwaway line of, Wanda, I saw you with your husband Vision and your boys, and it was it was a truly great sight to see. And you can even have Wanda say something like, Viz could still be alive, and we could have kids, and that could put that seed of like, maybe this isn't this isn't the realm I'm supposed to be on. Maybe I'm supposed to be on a different Earth where I'm happy, where I haven't lost everything.
And that's exactly what I want to see. Like, I want to see her breaking down, because you can't just
and see her like realize
the main character
that she, even with her power, she can't break into the other multiverses. And that's when she's like, well, then I need her power. I need Chavez's power to break into these other multiverses to find where I can be happy. That sets up the villain. Then you're like, okay. And then when she realizes to steal Chavez's power, she needs the power of the Darkhold to do it.
And we saw that breakdown in Civil War with Tony Stark and Steve Rogers, where they're on the same team, and it starts breaking down.
Yeah, starts unraveling until the point where they're
come across, and the thing with Bucky killing his parents is revealed. It's like, did you know this? It's like, well, I didn't know, but I kind of thought. It's like, okay, now we fight.
Yeah,
right. We needed that moment.
That needed to be in this movie, because you can't assume that everyone sitting in the theater watched WandaVision. Right. So you can't assume that her motivations for wanting to take Chavez's power.
Yeah.
So we need that kind of shown to us when she, something is like, oh, well, I saw you and Viz and your kids, and she's like, oh, well, there's other multiverses where I'm happy. And just even saying where I am, because that would allude to the point where right now she's not happy. She's lost everything. Yeah. She's sacrificed everything, but she's not happy about it. And then when she says, well, maybe I can go visit one of these other multiverses and see myself happy. And when she tries, she fails. And she can even go to Strange, and he's like, I don't have that kind of power. She does, and points to America. And that's when, she's like, well, maybe I should have that power.
Yeah.
And that's when, she's like, well, the Darkhold, even aligns with Wong of something like, well, the only tome he knows of that talks about the taking of others' power would be the Darkhold, but that's been lost for time. And then, she's like, well, I can get my hands on that. So we see her go to Wongor Mountain, get the Darkhold, and fights off all the demons who seem to recognize her as the Scarlet Witch. She takes the Darkhold, reads through it, and realizes how she can take Chavez's power. And that sets up then the conflict between her and Strange as she pursues them through the multiverse, because she needs Chavez's power she can dream walk there, but she can't physically take herself there. She needs Chavez's power to do so. That would have rounded out the movie better, rather than just saying,
you see her deconstructing. Doctor Strange is trying to hold it all together. And at some point there's the breaking point, and then that's where the conflict happens.
And then also you have, so when you go to the other dimension where you have the Illuminati, and who I have to say, Scarlet Witch took down the Illuminati so nicely. That was just.
Should we talk about that? Let's talk about that. I have a bone to pick about Reed Richards getting turned into elastic band so easily.
Spaghetti, get turned into elastic spaghetti.
You're going to introduce Mr. Fantastic, and he's going to get obliterated that easily against the Scarlet Witch. Like, no, he's got to put up a fight. You can't introduce him, especially if Marvel wants to introduce the Fantastic Four into the cinematic universe. Like, at least let him put up a fight. Like, he can get turned into elastic bands eventually, but give me a real fight.
Now, here's the thing I would have said they should have set up, that they have never had a Scarlet Witch in their multiverse. Like, they've never had a Wanda so they don't know how to deal with her. So when she shows up, that would then explain why she basically hands the Illuminati their asses so damn easily, because they've never felt something like fought something on that level. I mean, I love the way she took out Black Bolt. Black Bolt was just great with what mouth, and then blows out the back of his own head. I cheered.
It was okay. It was too easy. It was too fast. I thought that was good. Like, if you're going to use your hex magic to do stuff, like, okay.
Well, if he can whisper and kill you, well, what if he can't whisper? You know, maybe he's going to have to learn to talk with his nostrils or something.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I like the way she took him out. At the same time, so I was in the audience. I was with, there's like, you know, a couple of my friends, and one of my friends had his son there. And when she suddenly like broke Xavier's neck, I'm like, I don't see this as a PG-13 movie. That was a little jumpy and scary right there. Like that was a little hardcore for someone on like 13 to be watching. But yeah, there was just, to me, there's just so many little nitpicky moments like that I'm like, they could have set this up better. They really, it just felt like the whole time they're like, man, you should have watched WandaVision. If you didn't, you're not going to understand more than half of this if you didn't. And I'm like, so people who haven't watched WandaVision are, for the most part, they're going to be lost watching this movie. They're going to be constantly like, why is he doing that? Who's that? What's this for? Who's she? So I think they needed to get rid of some of that, like tone it down a bit.
That's one thing in the theater. Like, hear things like the Baxter Building. It's like, oh, the Baxter Building.
Yeah.
You see the Ultrons walk up. It's like, whoa, Ultron robots. This is great. You know, you have all these little, you know, like Easter egg kind of fan service kind of things. If you know,
there should have been something about Agatha Harkness in there. There should have been something. The fact that like they even could have said in the Illuminati's like, oh, Harkness took care of Wanda Maximoff before she came to power.
That would be good.
There you go. And just a throwaway line, but that ties it in. So again, more fan service, but that would explain why they never faced Wanda Maximoff as the Scarlet Witch, because she never got the chance to rise to power.
Right, she was too busy, happy with the family.
Yeah, and Mordo, you know, could say something to the effect of, and he took Agatha Harkness's piece off the chessboard before the pawn became a queen. So we're like, okay, so this Mordo was kind of a little bit more cutthroat.
Right. And that would go back to like the way the character should be.
Yeah.
As he was introduced in the last movie.
And then at the end of this movie, have, you know, when they you know, the big Scooby-Doo ending, and that's when you have Mordo show up and said, now that I've dealt with what I've been dealing with, now it's time to deal with you, Strange. That sets up a third movie with Mordo as the Sorcerer Supreme, who's also the villain for movie 3.
Yeah.
But we didn't get that.
Which, you know, we should get at some point. Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they set it up so well at the end of the first movie that Mordo was going around, you know, cutting off all the different things. I mean, I like the fact that they had Cleo show up. But I think they should have had Mordo, or even Mordo being like, even when Kamartaj is back, and you could even have Wong saying something effective, you know, we're going to have to, you know, deal with Mordo when he comes for us, something to that effect, because we know he's still out there in 616.
Now, speaking of Kamartaj, now this is a huge problem I had. So the Scarlet Witch, again, like we said, she went from villain to hero, now full on villain. The fact, like, how many people she's killed, like how far that character's gone. Like, I don't see a redemption point from that.
No, I don't either. Like, that was her attacking Kamartaj, I think, pretty much cemented her as a villain from now on. Like, there's no, and the fact that her reasoning is, well, I just want the power, but you didn't explain why she wants the power, because that was explained in completely out of the, like, in WandaVision, and was never mentioned really, other than
because I have these imaginary children.
Yeah,
it's like you already created your imaginary children here. It's just such a strange thing.
Yeah,
like you have to explain it, but then when you put that death toll, like you saw how many people she vaporized.
Yeah,
it's like, come on, didn't Captain America teach you better than this?
Exactly. So there was, I mean, I remember sitting in the theater just like, that seems really, because the thing is I could hear people whispering in the audience, like, why is she killing them? Like,
Yeah.
because they won't tell you the story as to why she's doing it. I mean, and the thing is they could do it with quick scenes like this. Yeah, this movie was pretty long to begin with. What was it? 126 minutes. So just 6 minutes past 2 hours. They could have added 15 minutes of footage, and that would have put in some of the backstory and explained her basically villain to hero and why she went to villain and right down into super villain.
And you could have explained it where it's the Darkhold, it's not her. Like you could do, like Bucky Barnes, Winter Soldier. It's like, okay, I did a bunch of crap, but I mean, technically it wasn't me. Something got into my head.
You could even do I remember in the comic books, there's a sequence when she was taken over by the Darkhold, and she's like opening her arms for a spell, and then you could see almost like superimposed behind her the elder demon Shaitan doing the same pose behind her. It's like he's in control. He's running her like a puppet.
And that's what we should have had. Like, if we want to keep her as a hero at some point, which you think you would if you're going to introduce X-Men and all this kind of stuff, like, she's the gateway to all that. So you have to find a way to make her sympathetic somehow.
Yeah, make it so that she, she had this yearning for a family, and the fact that she lost Viz, and the Darkhold and by extension Shaitan were using that to control her.
And that would be great.
Yeah, and then then
you feel more sorry for her.
Yeah, and then when you see the redemption of her when she eliminates the Darkhold across the multiverse, then it makes her.
That would break the hold of her, and she's free in the same way Bucky got free of the mental programming.
Exactly. Now, so Clea, when she shows up, she makes that magic dagger and cuts a hole into the next dimension, which is the dark dimension, because you can tell from the colors and if we rewind back to the first Doctor Strange, the deal he made with Dormammu was Dormammu would never target Earth ever again. That Earth 616 would never be. Dormammu could never go there. Now you have to assume Dormammu was pissed by this. He wasn't happy to be stuck in a time loop with Strange, and he made the deal just so he could get out of the loop, but he's not happy about the deal. Now Strange is willingly going into the dark dimension where he's no longer protected because he's not on Earth 616, and he doesn't have the time stone. It just seems like, yes, I'm going to pour steak sauce on myself and go walking out into the woods with starving wolves that I've been taunting, that I really taunted a lot last time. Here's more steak sauce. Why? Why would you do that? Like, that's the part that I was just like, that doesn't make a lick of sense. Like, not one.
Yeah.
And I know what the third eye means in Marvel Comics because there was like a couple of issues dealt with when Strange first opened his third eye and the ramifications. They did nothing in this film to discuss that. What it meant to have a third eye, what the pros and cons of that third eye mean. They're just like,
so what does it mean in the comics? Because I don't know that.
In the comics, it allows Strange to see the flows of magic far greater. So he can manipulate the flows, he can undo magic, he can strengthen his own magic. But the downside is you're seeing stuff that mortal eyes are not meant to see. It drives you insane because you see both the beauty of magic and also the absolute horridness of magic. So in one of the issues, he is watching like it was almost like a memory of the Ancient One casting a spell. And he's got like tears in his eyes because it's so beautiful, the form of magic as he's putting it together. And then a couple issues later, he opens his eye when he's facing a demon and he just sees the absolute grotesque nature of the magic that's binding that demon. And it almost drives him insane. Like just a brief glimpse and it almost drives him mad beyond the point of coming back. And then it's when he realizes the third eye is both a blessing and a curse. That, he can do magic better, but he could also end up killing himself or burning out his brain by witnessing things that he shouldn't see. And they didn't talk about any about that in the movie. They're just like, oh, it's open. Woohoo, let's go. And
it's definitely random.
yeah, and it was just like, why introduce that if you're not going to put anything behind it? It just becomes like a gimmick, like, whoop, pop it open, another contact, put on a weird set of sunglasses.
Yeah. Now, one thing I did like about the movie, the Sam Raimi vibes through the whole thing, like the jump scares, the weird camera shots, the angles. When Scarlet
Bruce
Witch
Campbell.
is walking like zombie, yeah, Bruce Campbell, and credit, it's over. Yeah, all that stuff was great. So, like, those moments were ones where anytime it got that Raimi vibe,
Yeah,
I got pretty excited. Yeah, Scarlet Witch walking, with the blood dripping down the face and coming down the corridors and crazy jump scares, all that kind of stuff. That was great.
I will admit the jump scare of the one demon got me when you first see the demons in the, because I was like, oh, I knew it was coming, but I'm like, God damn you, Raimi.
Yeah, that stuff was great.
Yeah. So yeah, this movie is definitely, I liked it, but not enough to put it in my top 10 of Marvel films.
Yeah, same. I liked it enough that I'm gonna bring the rest of the family to see it.
Okay.
Like, I think they'll have fun with it. But yeah, it's definitely, I wouldn't even put it in the, like, if you take all the Marvel movies, I wouldn't put it in the top 50%.
I think for Phase 4 movies, it's far beyond Black Widow and Eternals.
Far beyond, yes.
Way behind No Way Home. I much prefer.
Yeah.
I mean, Spider-Man No Way Home. The only one I think that's going to touch Spider-Man, maybe Thor: Love and Thunder might put.
Yeah, I'm even skeptical about that one. Like, hopefully, Taika Waititi, is that how you say his name?
Yeah.
I hope he's able to keep the vibe from Ragnarok. Like, I
just seeing the trailer, I feel like he has. Like when you see Thor going through his workout with the chains, it's just things like that.
I'm afraid they're gonna nerf him. Like you see with what's her name, Jane, as female Thor, and you see Valkyrie as King of Asgard, and it's like, we're doing the same thing. Like, are we going to have another thing where the main hero is kind of pushed to the side for everyone else?
I think this movie feels like it's Thor finding his place. He was supposed to be King of Asgard. He's supposed to be the God of Thunder. He's supposed to be this big hero, and he's come to the realization that's not what he wants to be. And so this is almost like, what's the name of the movie? It's like, this is almost like the hero's journey. This is the point where he's disillusioned with himself and he's trying to find his place in the world. That's what this feels like. This is why it looks like he goes to Olympus. Because you see like Zeus there with a thunderbolt. Yeah. So he's traveling to different pantheons to try to figure out, what is my place in this world?
I hope they pull it off. I have faith in the.
I have to say, I have faith in Taika, because I just finished watching Our Flag Means Death on HBO, which is so goddamn hilarious. That man is a genius. He is.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of faith in he is going to pull it off for Thor: Love and Thunder.
Yeah. I know my whole family was traumatized by Jojo Rabbit.
If he can hit 80% of what he hit in Ragnarok in Love and Thunder, he's gonna rule Phase 4. Because I hope
so. I do hope so. I'm just seeing too much of this whole bait and switch. Nerf the hero.
Yeah, so I want
to the next one.
If he ends up baiting and switching, I'm not going to be a happy camper. But he's got a pretty good track record of not baiting and switching. Like, this movie's about Thor. It's about Thor. It's not about Fenfear the Wolf. So he's pretty good about doing that. So yeah, I have a lot of faith in. So yeah, I would say Doctor Strange, was the 5 movies that are out so far: Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Eternals, Spider-Man, and Doctor Strange. It's probably number 3 because I like Shang-Chi better than this.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. I think this was
I
better.
would probably put this above Shang-Chi, actually.
See, I mean, they're I'd say neck and neck. I mean, No Way
They're-
Home's up here.
yeah.
Eternals and Black Widow are like they're off the bottom of the page. So
Yeah.
there's those two are just kind of like vying for the middle of the page
Yep.
right now, waiting for whatever movie's going to either like push them down or raise them up. And so I'm going to do a quick shout out though for anyone who's still listening. On Netflix is the third season of Love, Death, and Robots. If you have not seen it, please see it. Wow. I have
not seen it yet.
In an earlier podcast, I had complained when season 2 came out that it didn't seem as polished. It seemed very rough. And you can see why. Because this season, oh my God, they just went crazy with it. Like, just absolute crazy with just, I mean, the how can I describe it? Every episode has a distinct look, almost like season 1. Every episode has a distinct look, the distinct feel, the distinct story, but the story is told very well. There's not a lot of excess filler in a story. They get in, they tell the story, and then they get out, and the whole time you're like, this looks amazing. There's some that are hyper real, there's some that are very stylized.
Seems like there's a lot of CG stuff in this one.
Is
it all mixed up?
There's very little traditional cell animation. There is a ton of CG. There's like Blur Studios has something they put in there. And it's just, I mean, there's not a single one I could say, well, this is the best one. Because
I was going to ask you, which one's your favorite? If you had to pick one to sell somebody on the whole series, because I haven't seen any of them yet, but is there one standout one? It's like, start with this.
If I had to, I would either say the very first episode of season 3, Bad Traveling, or the second to last one in the Vaulted Halls Entombed.
All right.
In the Vaulted Halls Entombed, you could tell they use a motion. I mean, at one point I thought they were using live action with just some CG elements on top, but then because the models look like the actors,
okay,
but it's motion capture and really, really well done models. But the story is just unreal, but there's so many. I mean, my God, it just. Every little episode has something just utterly amazing by it. Like the night of the mini dead it's a camera trick, but they have the CG on top of it to enhance that camera trick of having a short depth of field, so everything looks like it's miniatures.
Okay,
but oh my God, you've got to watch it, Mike. You've got to. I really, really want to hear your opinion on these because. As I said, each one is different. Each one is spectacular in its own way. This is the season I wanted to see in season 2 because each one of these is polished to perfection. Whereas season 2 had some little issues here or there that you're like, this one's not that good or runs a little long or, maybe not as polished as it could be. They really picked the best for season 3. They really did. So, yeah.
All right. I'll make sure I watch so we can discuss next time.
Absolutely. Sounds good. All right. So, if you happen to still be listening, people out there in the geek sphere, thanks. We hope to, keep doing this a little bit more regularly, getting back into a regular broadcast schedule.
And maybe with some extra co-hosts.
Yeah, that'd be good too. Now, I did hear from through the grapevine, mainly my wife, that there are some of her friends that are listening to this and did lament the fact that we have been in hiatus for so long. So I'm hoping we can end that period and get back to it and get caught up to date. And yeah, maybe with Gavin and Troy joining in, that'd be lovely. But yeah, so I've had a great time, Mike. I don't know about you.
I had a great time. We should do this more often.
Yes, I agree. There's so much more stuff. I mean, we've got Obi-Wan, we've got Miss Marvel, we've got movies coming out around the corner. I mean, my kids want to watch Chip and Dale tomorrow. So, yeah.
I have some serious questions about Chip and Dale. We can talk about this another time. Maybe when Gavin's here, because he seemed to endorse it.
Yeah,
but a CG character with a 2D character, I'm very confused.
I am too. I'll watch it tomorrow with the girls, and then in our next meeting, I'll be able to pitch in coherently.
Sounds good. Well, this was a lot of fun, and we should definitely do it again soon, especially for all our faithful listeners.
All three of you. All right. So if you are listening to this, as I said, thank you so much. You could probably catch us on your favorite podcasting software, or if you wait a little time, it's probably going to show up on YouTube where you can see my ugly mug and Mike's handsome face.
My beautiful head.
Yes. Freshly shaved. All right. Good night, folks.
Good night, folks.
I'll catch you later, Mike.